Okay, well, hello to everybody here and everybody out there that anticipates listening to this. Welcome to the LA HubSpot user group, where today's topic is HubSpot payments. And we're going to talk about how you can get paid faster with HubSpot. Our experts today on the panel are Mike Vittum and Jack Coopersmith, and are your hosts today, myself, Christina, from Matter Marketing, your head of strategy, and Lee Tall, as always, our CEO of Matter. Say hello, guys.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Let you give a quick intro for each of you, Mike.
Yeah, sure. Mike Vittum, the go-to-market lead for HubSpot Payments. So working with our customers and partners to get you set up on payments and then take your feedback, bring it to the product team. Also helping our internal teams to get up on payments and feel comfortable positioning and selling.
Yeah. And Jack?
Hey, Jack.
I'm Jack. I work very, very closely with Mike. In fact, he's my manager. So we definitely tackle a lot of things very closely together. So not much to add on that front. I'm super excited to be here with everyone. And I'd love to get to know everyone on a personal level as well. So if you all have questions or feedback for us, I'd love to hear from you all. So don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you all ever have any thoughts, questions, or feedback for us.
And we'll have all that contact information for you at the end, everyone. Okay, now the infamous or famous icebreaker. It may seem weak. Lital was a little tired and she thought it was weak, but I think it's perfect. Summer plans, because everybody and their brother and their sister and their cousin is at the airport or in a car, even if the gas costs $7 a gallon. But
here.
but there's a station out in the middle of nowhere. It's like $9.32 somewhere in California. Yeah, I saw it this morning. But summer plans, because you know what? You have to spend money to have a good time. Does anybody shout out or chat out have any good summer plans? I have nothing to contribute here. I have no summer plans.
Oh,
I'm buying a house this year, which is a pretty big thing. Talk about expensive. So I'll be buying a house this summer. That's a big deal. And then spending some time on Cape Cod and as much possible time on the beach.
nice.
Oh, wait, is everybody spending time on Cape Cod? That's the second time I'm seeing Cape Cod.
Yep,
Wow.
That's me.
Nice.
Nice being close.
Oh, that's nice. I got to get some plans. I'll come
Mhm.
back to you. No, Lital, you don't have plans?
Well, I do. I have plans. I don't know much about the fun part. We are traveling for the first time since COVID with 3 small children internationally to see my in-laws.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
How small? Children?
9, 7, and almost 4.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Especially for the people sitting all around us.
Good times. All right. Well, I guess we'll get started. Let Tamir in. Hello, Tamir. You just made it just in time. We're about to get started. Because no one has plans. So everybody work on getting summer plans. That's one of your takeaways.
All right, so I'm going to stop my share, Jack, and you can take it from here.
Fantastic. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I want to kick us off with just a quick slide deck to run through how HubSpot can help you get paid faster and ultimately help your organization just increase its efficiency. That's really what HubSpot Payments and HubSpot more broadly is all about. Before just jumping right into that, though, I wanted to take a quick trip down memory lane with everyone here. So HubSpot had our 16th birthday last week, actually. So we had our sweet 16. And I think one of HubSpot's secret weapons over the past 16 years has been the ability to understand market forces and where buying behaviors in the internet age are moving. And we've built tools to help organizations capitalize on those market forces and those buying behaviors. So we started off with inbound marketing. We literally wrote the book on it. And the organizations who embraced this, they did well. They definitely thrived. We then moved about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, from the funnel to the flywheel. We built our CRM, we had sales tools, we had service tools. And so what the flywheel was all about was allowing for your organization to become as efficient. Latal, that is so awesome. I can't believe I don't have one of those. I absolutely love that. And what
this is actually custom. My husband built it for me. So nobody has
other hubs.
It actually spins too. That's really cool. It's not, what's at the center of it, out of curiosity? Is it growth or CRM?
Growth.
Growth. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you on that though here. But what the flywheel was all about was breaking down silos between front office teams and having that single source of truth at the center of everything, and with growth being the idea. Now, the flywheel, it's all about allowing for seamless digital experiences for your buyers online. But not all flywheels are created equal. We didn't fully finish the swing on this flywheel. And as we heard from users of HubSpot, the number one thing that they really wanted from us was bringing commerce together more closely with the CRM. And so as we're thinking about HubSpot's third major phase, we think it's going to be a commerce-enabled CRM. This is really Flywheel 2.0, where before we broke down the silos between your front office teams and allowed for you all to add more force and remove friction in your operations. Now we're going to be breaking down the front office and the back office silo. And instead of CRM being at the very center of this, we're going to have CRM and commerce data coming together. So we think that this is a huge moment for HubSpot. We're super excited about HubSpot Payments. And again, it's all about efficiency for your organization and for you all to provide your buyers the absolute best experience as possible. Now, taking just a really quick step back, what actually makes Flywheel spin faster? Well, there are two things. You can add force, you can remove friction. And the way that we're really building these tools really can break down into both of those buckets. So B2B e-commerce, this is a term that we're using that is really around allowing for you all to sell your services or your products without a human. I think we all remember a handful of years ago that Blockbuster was not very scared of Netflix because they just didn't think that anyone would buy DVDs over the mail. Or we're hearing the exact same thing today, that you have to have a human involved in absolutely every single one of your sales. Now, we don't think that that's the case. We have a number of different tools, and we're embedding HubSpot payments throughout the platform to allow for you all to do things like sell your time without a human, talk about getting paid faster where you don't even have to have a conversation at all, selling your events or paid content without a human, deploying these checkout experiences however you see fit. This also weaves in directly into the entire HubSpot platform as well. So you all can use all of this commerce data together with your customer data, with our reporting engine, and with things like workflows based off of a subscription or a payment object. So on the B2B e-commerce side of things, folks, we're seeing businesses completely open up new revenue streams. And I'd be super curious to hear from you all and everyone else in this group. Does your company, does your organization require a human to run your sales process? If so, which parts? Do you see opportunity in front of you to maybe pull back your humans a little bit? Maybe Latal, I can kick that to you and your team, not to completely put you all on the spot. And then I'd love to hear from everyone else as well.
Yeah, we're completely human. And in fact, our human is Michael. So, so he can tell you all about the pains of that.
Yeah, I would just say it's actually interesting. I mean, it's great that your working example was booking time that's paid, and having those kind of price points laid out in advance. I think, it's smart and it's efficient to, especially, when we were talking about repeat customers, breaking down banks of hours and having those sort of like ready to go bullet points that just eliminate those friction points and going back and forth about, hey, do you need this? Do you want this? Like, it's not even a sales process at that point. It's really just an engagement process and saying, this is an implied way that we're going to work together. But I love the thinking behind it. It's just, I think it's a matter of execution and seeing how it fits with our model.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to think about too is we're not advocating to get rid of humans overall. I think what we want to sort of think about is what services could just be bought touchlessly through your website? And then can we take those humans and have them focus more up market or on more complicated parts of the sales process? So now that you're scaling and you're sort of using economy of scales in your sales process. So we're not talking about AI getting rid of humans. We just want everyone to be more efficient and make sure the buyer experience is impacted in a positive way.
Yeah, well,
I
I
didn't
love
get
the way.
the Terminator 2 vibe. Sorry, I didn't get the Terminator 2 vibe, just so you know.
Good, that's good.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, because I would love for Michael to have more time, like brain time, rather than all this time he has to spend doing admin things that could easily be automated.
Totally. How about from attendees? Anyone else have a really human heavy process, and are there areas of the process that you could see yourself starting to have more touchless?
Hi, this is Tina from Vittum. Yes, I do this every single day. I take orders, I enter orders in our system. Everything is very manual and it's painful. And as Vittum is growing, we are not going to be able to scale. And we certainly need to remove myself from that buying process. And to your point number 2 here, what's holding us back? Cost, it obviously is a huge driver, but also just integrating HubSpot with our accounting system. So, our invoicing and things like that.
Sure. We'll get to that coming up.
So
you're helping us out, which is great.
Awesome.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Cool. Well, thanks everyone for sharing. I'd also say there's opportunity for firms to open up new revenue streams entirely. I've spent years on the customer success side of things at HubSpot, and I spoke to hundreds, thousands of customers who would be willing to, just have an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour block of consulting. I'd love to see more firms open up new revenue streams entirely as well. So I think there's a lot of options and a lot of different ways that this B2B e-commerce motion can help add force to your business. Frankly, we all very much expect amazing experiences on the direct to consumer side of things, especially as the entire world has moved online post-pandemic. The expectations that we have in that world have not kept up to the B2B side of things. And our hope is that we're helping to build tools so that organizations on that B2B side of things can match those expectations, because we're all consumers, whether you're buying on behalf of a business or buying for yourself or your family, ultimately. So now the other side of this here, folks, that's adding force. There's another big side of this where you can remove friction and, of course, add efficiency, get paid faster by breaking down that front office and that back office silo. The way that we're thinking about this is we're building that more quote to cash route. So instead of using 100 different tools to manage your quote to cash or configure price quote motions, you can cut it down in a big way, ideally. So a couple of specific use cases, folks, because payments is woven into the broader HubSpot CRM. You can do things like send webhooks upon a successful payment to another system. You can seamlessly sign and pay on one quote. Talk about getting paid faster. No more chasing down paper checks. No more waiting for the mailman to come to drop it off and then going to the bank and depositing it. You can really easily send along a nice, attractive quote, click on checkout, be taken to that checkout experience and check out immediately. If that isn't getting paid faster, I don't know what is. Also, we can do one-time and recurring payments as well. Because everything is centralized, you can not only view all of this data holistically, but you're able to actually do things around it, like send notifications or create tasks or really whatever it is that you'd like to do with our automation tool. So I'd be curious to hear from this group again, if you all would be willing to share. When it comes to that quote to cash process, how many different tools are you all using? And how does your company reconcile payments and handle accounting? I know, Tina, this is something you just alluded to, and we're going to show you how we're thinking about that. But I'd love to hear how many tools you all are using and how you're reconciling your payments right now.
Zach, do you have any insights since you do the reconciling, or is it just because we are actually entering orders and invoicing them.
Oh, yeah, we do some of the quoting in HubSpot. And then we have an accounting software, inventory software, because we sell hardware with embedded software. And then we also have a third-party payment processing. So there's a few moving pieces that come into play for sure. So it's kind of just matching them all up, making sure everything's kind of synced up there by month end.
We use the HubSpot quotes, and then we collect payments either by ACH directly to our bank, Stripe for credit cards, but our invoices are actually sent out of Harvest, which is where our team tracks their time. So when payments come in, they come in through Harvest and then go to QuickBooks Online. We also, because we're a completely remote company, we don't have an address. So we have a mailbox service in Delaware for tax purposes. And so anybody who sends a paper check, it actually goes to those folks. It takes them about a week to open an envelope, and then another week to forward the check to one of us who can actually deposit it to a bank. So paper checks are very painful for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask in the chat, or for me to say, how many people are still collecting paper checks? Like, who here has paper checks as part of their process?
We do, not from all clients, but it seems a lot more of the enterprise clients prefer to pay
Sure.
that way. They're
Yeah.
like still stuck in the 80s.
I use all those checks they bought.
Yeah, from our experience, and Jack and I talk to customers all the time, I think there just hasn't been a lot of attention paid to back office, to this sort of process. And I think it's just sort of like, hey, it's not broke. We can write checks, or like we can accept checks, and we're just not going to put time and energy into this. And I think what we're trying to get partners and customers and everybody to do is take a step back and say, wait a second here, like this does take time. This does does bring up opportunities where you might miss revenue because, oh wow, we have an open invoice for 6 months and they haven't sent the check in yet, or the check might have gotten lost. There's a lot of just inefficiencies that are broken down, but one of the bigger challenges is sort of getting the back office teams to sort of be on board to make a change and want to do this. And that's something that education is going to come sort of from the front office, where we're gonna have to educate sales reps and anybody sort of like doing a new selling motion. But then the back office too, that like their lives can be a little bit easier, and they may have to relinquish some control, but we're going to give them more because there's more data, there's more ways that to streamline processes. So it's going to be a process for a while. We realize this is not something that's going to happen overnight. And I think that's why sort of comparing it to inbound and comparing it to the flywheel is important, because it is a big structural sort of like big change for these organizations. It's just going to take some time for everybody to be on board.
This is new. Change is scary, ultimately, especially change around money. This is important. Yep. It's not something that you want to rock the boat on very much. So this is new, but we think that it's going to help a lot of organizations provide amazing experiences to their buyers. And we think that it's going to increase organizational efficiency. That's our hope. To that end, how is this actually working out for folks who are adopting this? I want to spotlight one specific HubSpot payments user called ZenPilot. They focus on ClickUp implementations. They're the largest ClickUp implementation partner. They save $15,000 per month utilizing our ACH option, 2 days in human hours per month as well. So this is a major force, a lot more money per month for that organization, as well as removing friction and allowing for efficiency. And ultimately, this is all about speed and efficiency for ZenPilot, and all of the HubSpot payments users that we're seeing are really leaning into these motions. So just as a quick recap, folks, today, CRM and commerce are very separate. Tomorrow, and really right now with HubSpot payments, commerce and CRM are going to be together. We're going to have commerce-enabled CRMs. And to that end, Mike, maybe I can pass you the mic here to run through what this actually looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jack did a great job there going through sort of the why and a little bit of the how, and I can sort of take the ball and run with the how a little bit more. Can everybody see my screen okay? You're seeing products here? Pretty good.
Mhm.
Awesome. So, I think there's, when we're talking about speed and we're talking about getting paid faster, there's two ways that you can start to do that by using HubSpot payments. And the first is payment links. And something that has sort of been crafted, and I think Jack might have come up with this, is that payment links are sort of like the Swiss Army knife of HubSpot. You can spin these payment links up super fast, whether it's for a new line of business that you want to put on a landing page or put behind a call to action, or you're just trying to collect money from a customer and you want to send them a quick payment link for them to then use their credit card or ACH, right? It's static, it can be pre-configured, and it's super easy to do. The other way is through quotes, right? Add a simple quote, a checkout button on through a quote. So I'll get to that in a second. Let me just show you real quick here how easy this is. You can see these are all the payment links that I've spun up here. And I just want to go in and I'm going to select from my product library. And I'm going to grab this conference ticket here. I'll add it. Maybe I want the ability to allow a customer to edit the quantity when they actually go to the checkout. They can say how many tickets they're looking to purchase. Of course, we can do one time and recurring. This is obviously a conference, so it's going to be one time, but we can do recurring revenue through HubSpot payments as well. We can add a line discount here. So once this is all set up, I can go to next. I run through, I'll give this we've done many tests here, so I'll just do test 40 because I know we're not there. Give it a name. I can choose whether or not I want to have a deal get created in the back end. So if you want that sort of extra level, the nice part is that through the payments object, which I'm going to show you here in a second, HubSpot has a record of that transaction. So if you want something extra, you want to have the deal, maybe you want to be able to do something where you want to trigger automation off of that, or you want to be able to track commission or something back through it. All things you could do by having a deal created here. I can add another message here. I'll just add test. I can collect first, last email, and first, last name, email, or company. Down the road, what you're going to find is that we'll probably open this up and you'll be able to add some other properties in here, contact properties on the checkout screen. I then have the ability to choose, do I want them to pay via credit card or ACH, or just one or the other. I can add billing and shipping, and then I can just show a very standard order details page, or I could redirect them to a different page. Jack, good call out there. Sorry, you can add contact properties now. So Jack just slacked me there and corrected me. So you can add contact properties. So I'll just show you here. Maybe I want to add in, I don't know, something like their job title because I want to track to see who's filling this out. I could add that in right here.
Mike, we also have a question in the chat.
Yeah.
It says every user can edit information about price for each link. Can't we have this blocked for addition?
So you can have it set up if you give them access to create payment links, right? So there's sort of the super admin, the first person that applies for payments. They have super admin access, and they can then give other access to other people. So not everyone can go in and just create a payment link or edit payment link information. You have to be given HubSpot payments access to be able to do that. Does that answer your question? Samara, does that sort of answer your question, what you're looking for? Yes. I'll just take silence is usually yes to me. So I'll take that as a yes. If not, then feel free to add it to the chat and happy to dig back into it again. Yeah, and feel free to call those out on the chat. I don't have it open in front of me, so that's super helpful. Great. So I'll go to next here. This is showing me a little preview of what it's going to look like. And then from here, like I said, I can choose the number of tickets that I want. You can see that it updates. If I had a discount, it would show here contact information and then credit card or ACH. You can fill this out and you would pay. I'm going to create it from here. Now, the nice part about this, and this is what we talk about the speed, is sort of like what I can do with this. Well, I can just copy this link and I can put it behind a call to action. I could embed this on to a website page where it just shows me the checkout. So very simple to do this. The other thing that's nice about this is you're going to find payment links are going to be embedded in other areas. You're going to start to see payment links popping up in contact records and deals and companies. So if I'm on a company record and I want to just quickly create a payment link, I can in a few clicks have that set up and be sent out to my contact. I mentioned quotes too. I just have this spun up real quick here, touch upon this. As you go through the quote editor here, when you get to the signature and payment part, you can see there's HubSpot Payments. Stripe is still here as well. So if you have a Stripe account, you can have HubSpot Payments and you can have a Stripe account. Just to sort of touch upon that, that's usually a point of confusion there. When you go to apply to HubSpot Payments, it does create a separate Stripe account, but that is a Stripe account underneath HubSpot's instance of Stripe. So what happens here is everything you will do is done inside of HubSpot. You never need to leave HubSpot. You don't need to log into Stripe. The only thing we use Stripe for is to process transactions. There are payment rails. So you can still keep your other Stripe account. They just won't speak to each other with HubSpot Payments. But the benefit there, as you start to think about it, is as you're doing things inside of HubSpot, all of that data, all the information that's collected, then gives you the ability to create workflows, do automation, do list segmentation. And that's something I'll get into here in a second after I spin up the quote. So just wanted to sort of call that out there between like HubSpot and Stripe. That is sort of a point of confusion a little bit. Just wanted to sort of touch upon that, and happy to answer some more questions afterwards as well. But again, real quick here, I'll add this. We'll just say publish quote. And then once it pops up here, I will copy this and go into the quote. And now it's as simple as clicking checkout, and it brings me right to the HubSpot checkout page right here.
Mike, I
started, question.
Questions. First of all, I know that HubSpot Payments currently is limited to US customers.
Correct.
Does that mean we are based in the US, or does that mean the buyer is based in the US?
Yeah, good question. So to apply and enroll or use HubSpot Payments, you have to be in the US, right? So you as a HubSpot customer have to be have a physical address in the United States. When it comes to the buyer, though, as long as the buyer is okay transacting in USD, they can be anywhere around the world. So you as the enrollee or person using HubSpot Payments must be in the United States, but your customer, your buyer can be elsewhere as long as they're okay paying in USD.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to ask the question that's in the chat, and then I'll ask my second question. How does HubSpot handle paybacks and chargebacks?
Yeah, great question. So one thing that's nice about this is that HubSpot has an underwriting and risk team. So they do a couple of things. The first thing is when you enroll or apply to HubSpot Payments, they do a brief audit just to make sure that you're not on any restricted list and there's no issues with your company being able to transact through HubSpot. They'll approve you and you're good to go. Afterwards, they also sort of play this role of, being a partner with you. And they're kind of like an extension of the HubSpot support team, if you think about it, where if you have a chargeback, they'll reach out to you and say, hey, there was a chargeback on X product here. They'll let you know sort of like if there's a chance that it's winnable on your side. And they'll work as sort of a proxy between you as the merchant or the customer and Stripe and the card networks as well. So you actually don't really have to do anything. They'll work with you. They may ask you to collect some information or, some things on your side, but they will work with Stripe and the card networks to get that resolved and hopefully in your favor. But it depends on what the situation is with the chargeback.
Interesting. And then my last question was actually for your previous demo example where you had conference tickets. So
yes,
that's not managing for you how many total conference tickets there are to sell.
Good question. Very good question. So it doesn't do inventory management, right? It's not what we're doing here. So like, let's just say there was only 100 tickets and, the first person bought 50 and the next person tried to buy, 52. It would let it go through, right? It doesn't have the ability to do inventory management. So I think that's a good call out. But the example here is just sort of like, it could be a conference ticket. It could be content, right? Maybe they're requesting 50 copies of a white paper or something here, right? So I think it's a good call out that we don't do inventory management, but it's just sort of an example that you can, you can now do buyer selected quantities during checkout.
Awesome. And another excellent question just came in. How does crypto factor in? Do you accept Bitcoin?
Not yet. Well, it's interesting. I think the world's still figuring out crypto, right? And sort of what's going to happen with it, and how do you sort of deal with the volatility of crypto? You're starting to see it more. Like I know there's some gambling sites that I've happened to frequent in the past where you start to see that they're accepting crypto, which is like super convenient and super nice. I think what we need to start seeing first is like is businesses, like a B2B business, are they starting to collect crypto? Is that something that like Stripe is getting into, or other sort of, gateways and processors? So there's nothing on our roadmap for 2022, and I would be surprised if we had crypto for 2023. But that doesn't mean if, things change rapidly and the industry starts picking up and crypto becomes a big player, which I know it is a big player, but I mean, in the business world, that we would pivot on it. But there's still, table stakes features that we have to get off the ground here to make HubSpot payments cover, as many use cases as we can. And I think that's where we really want to focus to help businesses, collect money faster and, streamline their processes.
Mhm.
Is there a way to give terms to clients? Yeah, I think it depends on what you're looking to do here, Tina, right? So if there is a situation where you are, if there's like long terms, our quoting tool now has the ability to do, I'm not sure if you've all seen this, but there is a quotes template tool now, right? So you can actually build certain templates for quotes, and you can have a section for your terms. If it's really long and it's really complicated, that may be what you'd want to put your terms so that you have somebody sign it and that they actually agreed to it. You also can add, I guess, your terms here. This is sort of like the note section. You could put it here as well. But there may be some legal challenges with that. Payment terms, you could do that as here as well. They're just paying here, but that doesn't always mean that they're agreeing to these terms here. I guess it would sort of be like, what's your situation and what you want to do. But at the end of the day, with payment terms, with anything that's sort of like really complicated, I probably would position it more through a quote to have them sign it and agree to it. But you do have that ability to add anything you want here in this note section and checkout. I guess, Jack, just to throw it to you, when you get posed that question, how do you sort of answer that?
Very similarly, I'd say oftentimes with payment, like the term payment terms, there's like a recurring billing element of this as well. So when it comes to like having it run until canceled, that's absolutely, you can set up. If you wanted it to just be monthly for 12 months, you can set up those terms as well. So I'd say when it comes to like the terms and services specifically, that's where you would put in here. When it comes to like the billing and the payment terms for recurring payments, you definitely have jurisdiction over that. So I think when people say payment terms, like they kind of can mean both things.
I kind of meant more like if they wanted to defer their payment for like 30 days. So like, net 30 terms or net 60 or anything like that. Is that something that can also be set up in the quote tool?
Not yet, but it will be, right? So we'll have the ability soon to do like scheduled payments or payment schedules, right? Where you could say, or delayed start date, I guess is probably a better way to explain that, where you could say, hey, I'm signing today on June 14th, but the first bill won't come till like July 1st. That's on our roadmap and being worked on actively. Probably we'll see that late Q3. And then we'll also sort of getting ahead here, but it's okay. This is great questions. We'll have invoicing as well. So there could be a situation where they sign today and maybe you want to invoice them on July 1st or something. We'll have invoicing as well, probably by the end of Q3, early Q4 as well. So some flexibility there, whether you want them to be billed later on, or do you want to send them some sort of invoice based on, their process or your process. That make sense?
Yes. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Which industries are the earliest adopters? It's interesting. When we first started out, I started on this team in March of 2021. And it was our first sort of group that we wanted to go after. And it's still sort of like this, but I think it's changed a little bit, was, SMBs. So you were like maybe under like 50, but a lot of our customers back then were probably under 20 that were using HubSpot payments. And it was selling some sort of digital service, consulting, classes, things that weren't physical goods, they weren't nonprofits, so on and so forth. And what we're what we're seeing is that that's starting to evolve a little bit more. I think one of our top merchants sells sewing machines. That's not a digital service. That's a physical good. So we're finding that our merchants are starting to be more diverse in what they sell and what they position. At its core, though, HubSpot Payments is great for any sort of service, especially on the sort of B2B e-commerce side, payment links. Can you just take a service that doesn't need to be scoped? That's just very plain, very easy, like an event, like a content offer, like consulting hours, and put it on your website to have someone check out. That's a very good use case. So kind of a fluffy answer, but it has evolved from sort of being a little more niche in the early days to covering a lot more use cases, industries, and services.
Is there a minimum or a maximum on the amount?
On the amount you can, so the only maximum we have is $100,000 transaction limit, or per transaction, 100K. The other thing to call out too is when you go through the underwriting process, what we'll do is ask you sort of like, hey, what's your average, monthly sort of transaction volume or that you're bringing in, and then we'll underwrite you for sort of that limit. We'll say like, okay, it's going to be, $80,000. Let's just call this out and say, now what that means is that if you hit 80,000, doesn't mean we shut you off. It just means that if there are, if we start to see that all of a sudden you process 130,000 in a month, we'll reach out and say, hey, did you have a good month? And do we need to up that limit a little bit? Or was there a fraud situation that maybe you weren't aware of or something happening here that we can help you out and look into here? So that's the other limit. It's more of like a soft cap limit where we just monitor it and make sure that nothing is wrong. The only hard limit is the 100K per transaction. Jack, out of all of that, did I miss anything?
I'd say we definitely, as we build tools just in general, have personas in mind, but we want to build them to be extremely flexible. So we have a car wash using HubSpot Payments. There's a town that collects parking tickets and like dog permits using HubSpot Payments. So huge variety, I'd say, and that's the point of this in a lot of ways is to have this be flexible. Michael, I'll just tackle your question then, Mike. Maybe I punt it back to you on which industries are you hoping to convert 2022, 2023? We're thinking about international. That's something that we certainly haven't shut the door on. We're an international company. So there's a lot of businesses abroad, of course, that we'd like to be using HubSpot Payments. We can run recurring payments right now. The SaaS vertical is one that I'd love to see really move on to HubSpot Payments as we continue to develop this product more. Those are the ones that come to mind, but I think we're going to continue to see quilt sewing machines and dog permits being processed on HubSpot Payments too.
And I don't think we covered this, but Jack, can you just talk for a minute about who has access to HubSpot Payments?
Yeah, totally. So anyone who's based in the US has a US bank account can use HubSpot Payments. There are a couple of other restrictions. So if you're in like the travel industry or like the CBD industry, there are some industries that carry with them a little bit more risk. And as we're getting off the ground, we're definitely playing it on the safer side of things. We also do partner with Stripe for our Rails. And so we definitely defer to their restricted business list as well, which I'm happy to drop in. I don't know off the top of my head, like I
meant more in terms of like HubSpot license.
Yeah, Starter Plus. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So anyone with a Starter Plus account can use HubSpot Payments. There's no monthly fee to use it or anything like that. The door is wide open to any HubSpot customer base in the US.
Yeah. Just gonna jump
And
in.
folks, to get started, sales payments right on the drop down there. If you just click on sales payments, you'll see a giant button that says set up payments if you haven't already.
And these are our prices right here, 2.9% per transaction for credit card and 0.5% per transaction for ACH, capped at $10. No other hidden fees. There's no other fees that we pass along. There's no monthly fee to use HubSpot Payments, just what you're obviously paying for your HubSpot subscription. And then chargebacks and all that, we cover those fees as well for you. I think it's like a $15 chargeback fee through Stripe. HubSpot covers that as well. Same with like interchange fees. If your buyer happens to use a business credit card that has higher fees, HubSpot covers that. The only fee you pay is the flat rate, 2.9 with 0.5%. So let me cover these last two things. I just want to save some time for questions and make sure that we don't take up the entire time here. We've talked about collecting and how quick that can be through quotes or through payment links. Once you have the transaction process, though, where's that data go? What are you doing with it? Well, we're thinking about that because commerce and CRM is really at the core of what we're trying to get at here. Like, obviously, we want you to collect money quicker and faster, but we also want you to be empowered by the data that is collected through your transactions. And so there's a couple different ways that we're starting to do that. One is through the subscriptions object. So Jack mentioned recurring payments, that we can do that now through HubSpot. When a recurring transaction takes place, it creates this subscription record on the contact company and deal record here, where I can see the status of this, the start date, what the amount is, the frequency, the line items, what contact associated, so on and so forth, right? And that lives right on here, which is great. The other thing that's super important too is that, yeah, we have the subscription record, and that's great, but that's a sort of a one-time thing. We'll also track all of the payments associated with that subscription as well, right? And so I'm just going to jump to the payments object real quick here. This is how you track transactions inside of HubSpot. And what you are seeing here is that it has the same look and feel as the rest of HubSpot. If I go to the deals dashboard, wow, payments object looks just like it. So there's some translation there of past usage and understanding of how things work in HubSpot. That's the whole crafted, not cobbled, right? We're not pushing tools together here. We're building them inside of HubSpot, using the format that we've used in the past. So there's definitely some familiarity of how to use these tools, even though it's sort of a brand new approach of how to use them here. So I can, edit these columns, I can add filters, so on and so forth. But the really cool thing about this is that, yeah, I can track all of this, but what can I do with it? Well, just like deals, just like contacts, just like really any object that's in HubSpot, I can build automation, I can do segmentation, and I can do reporting. So Jack showed this a little bit here at the start of automation, but just wanted to show you, this is status of anytime there's an unpaid subscription here, let's send an email to the contract management team. Let's wait 30 days. If it's still unpaid, boom, we're going to put a task for them to reach out right away and try to collect that. If it's paid, then boom, nothing happens right there, right? So you're seeing now, by taking your commerce data, you're using the power of HubSpot to reduce time and hopefully to collect things like outstanding balances and get paid faster, right? The last thing I'll just show you real quick here as we wrap this up is reporting. So the nice thing about HubSpot Payments is that there's going to be some out-of-the-box reporting that comes with new objects that we roll out, payments, subscriptions, and then eventually invoicing as well. And then you also can build custom reports as well, right? So you can see here, I just have a payments report that shows me, the breakdown here of what's been brought in touchlessly and what's been brought in through a human. What are we expecting for subscription revenue by month? I think that's the same report right there. What have we seen? Oh, I guess maybe this is the past. Yep, this is the past. What are we seeing for the future here? What are we going to collect? So, you're starting to see now that being able to, track your revenue and track your subscriptions in HubSpot is super helpful. I can do automation. I can inform other teams, but I also can start to make some decisions in the future by saying, how much revenue are we expecting? This is all stuff that was super hard to do in HubSpot before. And now with payments, with a subscription object, with the payments object, and eventually things like the invoice object, you're starting to have that power inside of HubSpot. So we're very excited at where HubSpot Payments is right now and where it's going to be in 1 month, 3 months, and 5 or 6 years from now. So I'll stop there. Latal, I know you want to save a little time at the end for some housekeeping, but I'm happy to open up your questions in the next 5 or 6 minutes here, and then Jack and I will wrap up.
Just real quickly, is there any, and you might have covered this already and I missed it, I apologize, but is there any additional fee structure for HubSpot Payments?
Yeah, no, and that's what's nice about this, right? And we've set our prices to be competitive. I think you look at Stripe something like 2.8% plus like a 30-cent charge, fixed fee for transactions. We're at 2.9 with no fixed fee on that, right? Same thing with ACH. I think, we're 0.5% capped at 10, some are 10, some are 20, some are 25. So the only thing that you would pay through HubSpot Payments is just going to be when the transaction is processed. Is it credit card? Is it ACH? that's where the fee comes out. And out of that too is like, hey, maybe we want to just like check this thing out and try it. You can enroll, go to sales and payments. You can go through the enrollment process. There's no charge to enroll and no charge to have payments until there's a transaction that is processed. So we encourage everybody, sign up, check it out, see if it's going to work for you. And then you can always loop someone like Jack or I in to talk about your use case and see if it's going to help you out.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
Jack, you want to take that one?
Yeah, let's quickly touch on that accounting piece, because I know that that's something that's been mentioned a time or two. Let me just quickly pull up that account. So when it comes to, is HubSpot going to be building an accounting system this year? The answer is no, we're not going to be building an accounting system this year. And as we're, of course, operating in the United States, the biggest giant in that space in this country is indeed QuickBooks Online. Lital, I think as you were describing your tech stack, that's something that I believe you mentioned that you all were using. So what I'd love to just quickly show you all here is how we're thinking about the connection between HubSpot and QuickBooks Online. Happy to chat with you all more about what's coming and how we're thinking about integrations though. So again, we talked about the power of the object and how that can weave into things like automation and reporting. Let's say we simply wanted to say every single time a successful transaction is run, we want to create an invoice, a paid invoice within QuickBooks Online. That's definitely the most common action that we see folks using. It could not be more straightforward to set this up, folks. When you come in to set up the enrollment trigger, we're of course enrolling it. We're enrolling records based off of the status of the actual payment. So I'll just quickly come in and I'll put in succeeded right here. And then from there, it's a very simple action. Create a QuickBooks paid invoice. You come in, you say which account you wanted to push it to, and then that's really it. Now, when it comes to deal and quote-based workflows, you all have the choice to either create an invoice and mark it as paid or not. It's not just a paid invoice. You'll see a sales receipt option. You also see a QuickBooks estimate option as well with deal and quote-based workflows. Now, Mike has mentioned the invoice object that's coming. So I just want to quickly touch on that as well. So the early foundation coming together for this here is, as we saw, the HubSpot workflow action can create QuickBooks invoices automatically. We also recently launched an invoice sync from QuickBooks into HubSpot. Again, if you all ever use HubSpot, I bet that this is an interface that you've seen before because it looks and feels just like everything else. So we're laying the groundwork for native invoicing within HubSpot, but as it stands right now, workflow action creates it. It then syncs back into HubSpot so that you all can view it on this index page, but also view these comprehensive associations as well. So again, if you all ever log into HubSpot, I bet that this right sidebar with the associations is something that you've seen before.
Jack, what do you do if you don't have QuickBooks?
Yep. So a lot of different options. I could have seen that question coming there. We definitely have integrations with Xero and NetSuite. Those are integrations that we're going to continue to invest in as well. Ultimately, we are never going to be holding your data hostage, especially around payment data. So if you all ever wanted to just come in, click on sales payments, or just click on the settings here and then payments in the bottom left right here, you'll see the option to download these payment and payout reports. You can push that into an accounting system that you all use. Of course, if you just wanted to send it out to your accountant, I guarantee you they'll know what to do with it.
Yeah, and down the road, one thing we don't have right now is API access to these commerce objects. So payments object, subscriptions object, eventually the invoice object. You can't update that information or push or pull that information via an API. We will have that probably later on in Q4. So I think that will open up some more doors, as well as being able to integrate and build some things between other software platforms. So that's coming. That will be a feature request. And this feature request is pretty big, and you'll see that probably roll out in Q4.
Which Lital kind of goes to your question earlier around inventory management. Once we open, ultimately we're building objects, and a core feature of an object in the CRM is APIs. So once we open those up, we're going to see a lot of really interesting things happen.
We read Tina's mind. See that? She was going to ask about API next. It's like we've done this before, Jack. Yeah, no, that's a big request. We're pretty excited about being able to open up those those objects. And then, down the road, I mean, that opens up other things too. Like, what about other gateways? What about other processors? What about other things? We don't want to use Stripe. We can't use Stripe. We want to use PayPal. That gives us more flexibility down the road to make those decisions and for other partnerships. So we're just getting started here. I mean, we're very early innings of HubSpot Payments, but we want to hear from all of you. So if you have suggestions, use cases, things that are going to help us evolve, tell Jack or I, tell your partner you're working with, tell your CSM or your onboarding specialists, because all that information flows back to product and it's super, super valuable.
Do we have any more questions, anybody?
Yeah, I think.
Do we get everything from the chat, Christina?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This was so helpful, and I think we're going to sign up. We actually tried to sign up before, and the integration was a blocker for us. Mike, you and I had talked about that, but I think we found a workaround on our side, so we're going to be trying it out.
Let us know what it is when you figure it out, so we can spread the wealth.
It's just going to be that we'll use payments not for the regular invoicing that we do, but for just like prepackaged stuff. Okay, let me share my screen again, if my Zoom will allow me to do that. And so just our end of every hug, we have the same slide. So we would love to know what you all thought of this topic. This actually came from your requests, and any requests for future topics. So if you want to throw that in the chat, that would be helpful. We pick our topics based on what you want to know about. So we want to know that. As far as our giveaways, everybody who is here gets swag from HubSpot. You get your choice between a puzzle, look at my Vanna White impersonation, and a mug. Let me see my mug. It's very cool. And I'm putting the link for that in the chat right now, so you can click on it and get it right now. And also the link for our feedback survey, which we would just love to get your thoughts about how we can improve. We do these for you guys. I mean, we get to learn a lot in the process too, and we love that, but it's really about spreading that knowledge. We have our best question of the day. We'll get an inbound 22 powerhouse pass from Matter, and that will be going to Tina. Yay, Tina. And a random attendee will get a $50 gift card, and I have to share my other screen for our random. Ready?
Can you please remove me from this chart just to be fair?
Is that Sasha?
Yeah.
Sasha
Hey,
won our last two hugs.
You did it.
Elaine. All right. So Tina and Elaine, I will be contacting you for your information for your gifts.
Everybody loves the randomizer, but bless you, Sasha. She was a lucky duck. She won twice in a row.
My
Yes.
fortune is out of control.
And keep coming back, Sasha. We're not removing you. This is fair play. If you win twice, if you win the lottery twice, they're not going to not let you buy a ticket.
That's the fate.
Although if you were in Vegas, they might kick you out, but that's a different. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming. We'll probably be taking a break over the summer for vacations and be back in September.
So I got to get plans. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all. It was very informative and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Everybody.
you. Bye-bye.